This is CBC Vancouver News.
We are expecting to see winds again today, hopefully not as strong as yesterday, but they will be pushing that smoke to the north.
A wildfire in central BC grew dramatically overnight, and an out-of-control wildfire in northern BC has prompted an evacuation alert for a small community nearby. Plus,
we are expecting some spillover demand for the hotel sector once a lot of the short-term rentals come out of supply.
What the province's new short-term rental restrictions mean for a limited supply of hotels as BC gears up for the busy summer season. And
the goaltending matchup's good. So too is the battle on defense. We'll get to Quinn Hughes and Roman Josi.
Roaring fans and towel power, the puck dropped on Game 1 of the Canucks Stanley Cup playoff journey. We'll bring you the highlights of all the action. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. We begin with the latest on the wildfire situation across the province. An out-of-control fire in the Cariboo region has ballooned overnight. The BC Wildfire Service says the Burgess Creek fire has grown to 1,600 hectares and is burning just south of Quesnel.
We are expecting to see winds again today, hopefully not as strong as yesterday, but they will be pushing that smoke to the north. So those in communities north of the wildfire, especially Quesnel. I know yesterday we saw a big column of smoke, and we can expect to see that again today.
She says around 40 personnel, heavy equipment, air tankers, and helicopters are working to contain the blaze. Category 2 and 3 fire bans remain in place across the Cariboo Fire Centre, which means large open fires, including pile burns, are not allowed. And in BC's southern interior, about 20 kilometers north of Lytton, the Skookumka Creek wildfire is burning out of control.
The fire is blowing at a lower intensity, working its way through that drier fuel while still having some of that snow in the area, which keeps that intensity down.
She says at this time there is no immediate risk to life or property. According to the Wildfire Service, there are nearly 120 wildfires actively burning in BC. None are listed as fires of note. Meanwhile, an out-of-control wildfire near Fraser Lake in northern BC has prompted an evacuation alert for a small community. The Endako wildfire is burning less than a kilometer away from the village of Endako. Wildfire officials say the gusty winds are proving quite challenging for firefighters. The Regional District of Bulkley-Nechako issued the alert this afternoon, telling residents they must be prepared to leave their homes at a moment's notice. There are about 50 properties on evacuation alert. Another out-of-control wildfire is burning just east of Vanderhoof. Both wildfires are suspected to be human-caused. RCMP say 2 kayakers are missing in waters near Sydney, just north of Victoria, and a search is underway.
We're searching for 2 kayakers that went missing yesterday afternoon. And we've done shoreline searches throughout last night, and the winds had died down. So, we started our search down here today as an area that there was a possibility that they could have drifted, I guess.
Police say the men were in a teal blue fiberglass 2-person tandem kayak. They are identified as 36-year-old Daniel McAlpine and 26-year-old Nicholas West. Mounties say the 2 men were supposed to be kayaking from Darcy Island to Island View Beach south of Sydney Saturday afternoon. Anyone with information is urged to contact RCMP. BC's short-term rental restrictions come into effect less than 2 weeks from now, despite opposition from rental platforms like Airbnb. Some worry tourists will be without a place to stay in the province as BC gears up for a busy summer. And as Yasmin Khanea reports, hotel prices are expected to surge as well.
The incoming short-term rental rules are making many people cancel bookings for the summer.
They're changing their destination of where they're going to stay based on this legislation.
Orion Rogers manages short-term rentals in Victoria.
I personally have had hundreds of guests throughout this summer that have started canceling, and I'm seeing, hearing that same number per each short-term rental host. So I would say quantifying it into thousands of cancellations across the province for this summer.
As of May 1st, people can only offer short-term rentals at their primary residence, plus a secondary suite or accessory dwelling on the same property. The province hoping it'll free up long-term housing for British Columbians. But critics of the government's plan say it's leaving tourists with fewer options to stay in the province. They say many will have to rely on expensive hotels as we enter peak season, or potentially not come to BC at all. CoStar, which collects real estate data from around the world, says BC hotel prices are expected to rise.
The new regulations related to short-term rentals will change things considerably. We are expecting some spillover demand for the hotel sector once a lot of the short-term rentals come out of supply.
We know that there's a hotel shortage right now, and we have many major events coming to the region over the next few years, and we don't have enough places for people to stay.
The province says 1,400 hotel rooms are in the development pipeline in Vancouver. BC doesn't have a cap on hotel prices and isn't currently considering one.
We know people want to come and spend time here. We welcome them, but we want to make sure that people in our communities have the housing they need as a priority.
Provincial data gathered last month show over 19,000 homes are listed as short-term rentals. Going forward, Rogers says he'll be using his properties for friends and family.
It's going to be devastating for all hosts.
Losing out on the income they brought him. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
Canadian renters who have a disability seem to be at a greater risk of being evicted. That's according to a survey data released by Stats Canada. As Yvette Bren shows us, finding a suitable new home can be especially difficult.
Hey, Brian.
Every time eviction uproots this disabled man's family, the hunt for a new home gets harder.
I have a good job, and I can't afford to buy a home. Which means I can't support my son 100% by keeping him safe in one place.
A recent survey found that 3% of Canadian renters have been evicted. Of those, more than a quarter reported living with a disability.
I feel very, very vulnerable because if we ever had to leave this home, and now I have to make a resume of my family, and then I have to, include in there, must modify the bathroom, must put a ceiling lift in. We have 2 dogs, is that okay?
There's a back pillow that, one of those travel pillows, I use that.
John Feddick used to help people find housing. Now the former social services worker lives in his car.
I wasn't prepared for the shock of it. I wasn't prepared for the battles I've had to face with other people.
He's faced 3 evictions, and he says a lot of discrimination due to his disabilities. Every eviction ups the risk of homelessness, an additional level of stress.
So we definitely see that those folks who experience an eviction end up being worse off because they almost invariably pay more when they secure a new place to live.
Maybe I should hang on to that trailer. I might have to live in it someday with my son and my partner and our dogs. Molly, come.
For some, getting shut out can put a new roof out of reach. Yvette Bren, CBC News, Vancouver.
With hostility growing between Israel and Iran, some in BC's Persian community are once again pushing Canada to list a branch of Iran's armed forces as a terrorist organization. As Sohrab Sandhu reports, the escalating tensions have left many Iranian Canadians increasingly concerned.
Days after Iran's attack on Israel, Iranian authorities reported they had brought down 3 drones near the city of Isfahan. American officials also confirming Israeli missiles hit an Iranian site.
It's very alarming and, scary for people.
Tammy Sadeghi is an Iranian Canadian living in BC. She says this is a difficult time for Iranian people, especially women rights activists who are facing growing resistance and oppression from the Iranian regime.
Last few days, especially since they attacked Israel, they unleashed their, morality police on the streets, not just attacking women, attacking people.
Fred Sufi is a human rights activist. He worries about his family and friends back home in Iran.
Iran is a beautiful country, is my native country, but the regime there is very cruel. They are very dangerous because they are terrorist groups which is supported by a regime, by a government.
The escalation of violence in the Middle East is renewing calls for the Canadian government to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist group.
We're talking about an organization that definitely sponsors terrorist groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, like the Houthis in Yemen, all of which, by the way, are listed terrorist entities under Public Safety Canada.
Once a group is placed on Canada's terrorist list, police can charge anyone who financially or materially supports the group, and banks can freeze its assets.
If you believe the listings process is a valid one and is useful from a Canadian legal perspective, then there's no reason why you shouldn't list the IRGC.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says more sanctions are coming for members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, but stopped short of saying the government will designate the IRGC a terrorist organization.
We've sanctioned very clearly key individuals and will continue to put maximum pressure against the Iranian regime.
Tensions between Iran and Israel remain high, but Joly says she is pushing Israel to de-escalate the situation. In the meantime, Sadeghi says war is not the solution.
We don't want innocent people from either side to die.
Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Ahead of Earth Day tomorrow, we spoke with the executive director of Vancouver's Food Stash Foundation about the importance of reducing food waste. Take a look.
We generally have plenty of food, yet we buy more than we can eat, and we don't hesitate to toss something when we know we can easily get more of it. How many times have you picked up, inspected, and put back a pile of apples until you found the perfectly red, spherical, blemish-free one? Fruits and veggies don't grow according to what we want them to look like. They just grow.
Every year it's a good time to reflect on our impact on the environment and how we can reduce it. Lots of emissions go into producing food and packaging it and transporting it all over the world. And then if after all that we don't eat it, it ends up in the trash, it produces methane and even more greenhouse gas emissions. So all of those emissions combined makes food waste a really big driver of climate change.
Next time you're picking through that pile of produce at the store, choose the funny-shaped one. Or maybe the one with a little bruise, so it doesn't get thrown away.
Thousands of runners laced up this morning for Vancouver's 40th annual Sun Run. It's known as Canada's largest road race, with more than 45,000 people signing up this year. That's the largest turnout in 10 years.
Well, it's really about getting out and being active. You know, we do have an elite field that people run in under 30 minutes. But what it's really about is the people that just come out, regardless whether they're walking 10K, they're running or learning to run. It's really about people coming together, being active. It's a real energetic, fun atmosphere. And, you know, you just look at the look on people's faces as they finish the event, and they're just so happy.
A man from Quebec ran the race in about 28 minutes, narrowly beating a Vancouver local. And in the women's division, the top 2 spots were taken by women from Vancouver. Third place went to a woman from Ontario. This year's run raised more than $73,000 for various BC charities.
I can see where many fans from across the country, around the country, may want a Canadian team to break that 30-year curse for sure.
4 Canadian teams are fighting for the Stanley Cup, and fans are buying in. After the break, we bring you the latest. The journey has begun to the Stanley Cup, and for now, 4 Canadian teams are a part of it. The CBC's Georgie Smythe gauges the excitement.
The Leafs may have lost their first playoff game, but hope is still high.
Hopefully it's something different this year.
I think they're a good squad, and I think this year's different.
And they're not the only ones riding the wave. 4 Canadian teams made the playoffs this year, the highest number in 7 years. Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton and Vancouver all battling for Canada's first Stanley Cup in 31 years, when the Montreal Canadiens hoisted the cup. Still, this hockey analyst urges fans not to get ahead of themselves.
And I don't sit here at the start of every playoffs in April going, could this be the year? I just am excited to watch playoff hockey.
Spirits are high in Winnipeg after the Jets closed their season with 8 straight wins.
The team's looking good, they're looking fast, so I want to see the people flock to the downtown area.
Go Jets, go! We are Winnipeg!
But Edmonton fans have their own reasons to be hopeful, not least Connor McDavid, widely considered the best player in the world.
We've learned a lot of lessons, as you said, from our many failures, and you know that's what great teams do.
Pundits say McDavid may be Canada's best bet.
There is one that could do it. I think it would be the Edmonton Oilers that most of us feel would champion, could possibly be a Stanley Cup winner.
But Vancouver fans might disagree after the Canucks finished first in their division.
I want the Vancouver Canucks to win, and if it's not them, it doesn't have to be a team from Canada, but I could see where many fans from across the country, around the country, may want a Canadian team to break that 30-year curse for sure.
After failing to make the playoffs since 2020, Canucks fans are down here at Rogers Arena looking for redemption and hoping that home ice advantage makes a difference in the first 2 games against Nashville. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, that home ice advantage played a huge difference in tonight's game as the Canucks slid past the Predators in a comeback win to start the series, the Canucks' first playoff game at home since 2015.
This is our moment to welcome your Vancouver Canucks!
Towel power was out in full force for this game, but it was the Predators that drew first blood with a goal from Jason Zucker nearly 17 minutes into the first period. The Canucks and Predators traded goals during the second period to give Nashville the 2-1 lead, but the Canucks mounted a third period comeback thanks to 2 goals from forward Dakota Joshua to take Game 1 of their best of 7 series 4-2. Here's what Joshua had to say about playing at home in the postseason in front of a passionate crowd.
It means a lot. Obviously, you could tell, the building was rocking all night. It was nice that we could, get the first win out of the way, and, we're going to need them on this ride. And, it means a lot to us to know that they have our back through it all.
Game 2 takes place Tuesday night at 7 o'clock right here on CBC. Here we have a live shot of Harbor Center. I'll have your full forecast coming up next. All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast. Let's begin with looking at the nighttime lows rather, starting in Dease Lake, -2 tonight with a chance of those snow flurries. A bit of precipitation in places like Terrace and Prince George overnight, as well in Kamloops and Kelowna. A lot drier on the south coast. Victoria sitting at 2 degrees for tonight and into tomorrow's forecast. Warming right up Dease Lake to a high of 10 tomorrow. Prince George, a high of 14. Kamloops is sitting at a high of 17 for tomorrow, and on the island, 15 in Victoria. And here in Metro Vancouver, we are going to see a little bit of precipitation tomorrow and Tuesday with a high of 13 and 15 on Tuesday. And that's going to remain pretty similar throughout the rest of the week. Wednesday, drying up with a high of 13 and onward. When an 8-year-old girl from Kamloops found out her younger brother would either have to wait 3 years for an autism assessment or her family would have to pay thousands of dollars for a private assessment, she took it upon herself to raise funds, 1 cup of lemonade at a time.
I had several healthcare professionals, a speech therapist, occupational therapists, mention that he had autistic tendencies, and they highly recommended that he get assessed. So I spoke to my family doctor, and he explained to me that there is a 2 to 3 year wait list for seeing a child psychologist who can assess that. And then I found out that you can go private if you pay out of pocket, and it is much faster. And I also found out the heavy costs that come with that. So I needed to find a way to raise money to get Bodhi seen much faster. My daughter decided that she wanted to have a lemonade stand and raise money for Bodhi. She wants Calvin to go to the doctor that we will finally get him to. She wants to keep none of the profits, and she just wanted to do it for him.
Tell me about your little brother. What's he like?
He likes dinosaurs and cars.
Is he fun?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her, I can't even put it into words. She is the kindest hearted child I think I have ever met. And it's not just because she's my daughter. She's a beautiful soul who thinks of other people, and she loves to do things to help, and she loves her brother and sister. So I was not surprised one bit. I don't know what it would take, but what we need is for something this urgent, and I do believe that autism assessments are urgent because of early intervention being so important and the funding that comes along with it that will help children with autism. So I don't know what it would take, but we need, as a society, our healthcare system needs to do better, getting these kids seen sooner and assessed sooner, because they will do so much better in life the sooner they're seen and assessed, given programs, given funding for those programs, and given resources.
What does it mean to you?
Like happiness and stuff.
I have never seen such a positive response on social media in my experience. People were kind, people gave so much information, people asked for my email address to send me money just to donate for Bodhi. There was so much advice. There were people who have children with autism who gave me resources that I did not have already, resources that are here in town while I'm waiting. And just the kindness of the community overall has been overwhelming, to the point of me sobbing several times today.
That is your late news for this Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us. To keep up to date with all the latest news, head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night. Go Canucks, go!